It's an opportunity. I think it also is at some time a weight because there's not enough of us. And, there is, I know for myself as a writer, there is a expectation that the stories and the things that we say, Roll and I were just having a conversation about it, we can't speak for everyone. As a people, we're not monolithic and we have a lot of different ways of speaking. But because there's so few of us, sometimes our stories are supposed to speak to the whole, family. And I don't necessarily know that that's a fair weight for a person who's trying to, especially if you're just coming into the situation, trying to create. But I do, you take it on, you appreciate it, you honor it, you try to do the best that you can. But I do think that it is sometimes the expectations that come along with it are not reasonable in that we are not a voice to everyone. We are a voice to what I feel and what I'm trying to present for that particular situation.
But Roland, when the mandate, how do you distill the voice or the opinion or the perspective of those who have been otherized in that space?
Oh, easy, because you can't get to everyone unless you have your micro-targeting groups. I mean, the bottom line is here. There's no such thing as I'm speaking to people generically. The reality is you have to be speaking to African Americans, and within African Americans, black men, black women. You got to be speaking to Latinos and Asians, and people are connecting you in a different way. When I get a letter from a 70-year-old white gay man saying I'm contributing to your Bring the Funk fan club, even though you're targeting African Americans, he is watching my show, learning something. So, and I'm not changing my content to appeal to a white 70-year-old gay man. I'm talking to black people. Now, if you want to come to the party, listen to the music, come jam with us. But what I'm teaching though can be applied to anybody, but I'm specifically targeting somebody. So when I was on, it'll be 10 years in April since I've been gone from CNN. Some cats still roll up on me like I was there last week. Because what I said while I was there was impacting them in a certain way. So I brought my blackness with me. I didn't apologize for my blackness. The problem that we have is, which my book now is called White Fear, the Burning of America is making white folks lose their minds. My next book is probably going to be on white validation because black people have to now confront that. We walk into spaces and we literally play a game thinking somehow that we can win at their game, and then if you don't build your black base while you are doing it, you're going to be screwed. And so what I keep trying to explain to people is you have to have a historical understanding of what you're walking into and understanding games. She said leverage with millennials. There are three things. There's leverage, influence, and there's power. Power changes things. You don't have power without ownership. I was trying not to sit here, but you showed DEI, and I was trying not to go there, and I was trying to be real nice. And I'm sitting here. I was trying to be real nice, and I was like, bro, don't blow the spot up, don't blow the spot up. But my show's called Unfiltered for a reason. DEI across the board is complete utter bullshit. Let me explain why. Because most of the people over DEI do not have P&L responsibility within the company. If you are in a company and you don't have P&L responsibility, then you are not driving the bottom line of that company. Most DEI people have small budgets, one staffer. The only real companies that have real DEI is when the CEO mandates it from top to bottom and says unequivocally, this is how we're going to operate. So we're living in an age where really this should be the third reconstruction. This is the third reconstruction. We keep operating as if we are in a moment. We should be thinking reconstruction. We started the first reconstruction 10 to 12 years after the end of the Civil War. We dealt with laws, 13, 14, 15th Amendments called the Reconstruction Amendments. The second reconstruction was the Civil Rights Movement, Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, Fair Housing Act. What did both reconstruction movements fail at? The money. If you don't confront the money, then you're not changing anything. So we need to be changing how we're operating. We're happy that we're on the television. No, who is owning, who controls the IP,
Come on.
who controls the library. It's an ownership conversation. And that's why I chose to own. I turned down a deal with TV One because I understood if I don't have the power to make a decision, I'm asking permission from someone.
Come on
you
now.
Make $20 million. I love Robin Roberts. But Robin Roberts makes 20, 25 million at ABC. I love Robin Roberts. But she has to ask permission. I don't, because I own it.
Talk your shit, boy.
It's a plug that.
Woo!
Being a black network. I'm sure you've all heard about the President Biden and Fox so we could go and so forth. And when I tell people I'm actually getting my PhD right now and sitting in those rooms and sitting at that table and really learning from the inside.
Wait. Give people the short version because they may not have heard. So let me go. So every year, no, because I want him to get into
I give
more
more
substance and stuff. Hold on. So every year on Super Bowl Sunday, the President of the United States does an interview on the network that's hosting the game. Okay? This year, Fox was hosting the game. President Biden said, I'm not doing an interview on Fox because they own Fox News. And it went back and forth. And then the president, the White House said, wait a minute, how about we do it on Fox Soul? This man runs Fox Soul, right? Now, he might not be able to divulge all the behind the scenes of what went on, but in the end of the day, the interview got pulled. Okay, so now I'm sorry.
So, but we're coming back. So I'll leave it at that. But what I was saying, what I'm learning is honestly, we have to get our own house instead of allowing them to invite us and give us a room in their house and then expecting all of us to occupy that one room. You run out of space. And then something happens in our culture, George Floyd and so forth, all they do is redecorate that same room. They don't give us any more space. So until we get a house, a home, and we can invite the whole community, where then we can sit at our table anytime we want to and see how we can help each other decorate our room, we're going to continue having this conversation year after year, which is psychologically debilitating. And that's what.
Okay, moving on. That operate in those facilities. Coaching.
Well, again, it's not only about what's privately owned or publicly funded. Roland mentioned it. It's about overall ownership. That gives you the power. Respectfully, the power is in the money. And what I like to say is like, I can't hear what you're saying because your actions are so loud. And so ultimately, whoever has the money, we play by their rules. And I can sit here and be like, yo, it's great. The NBA has 12 and the other two have 10 combined. But that ain't enough.
No.
Right? But it's not just with ownership of the facilities. What about ownerships of the teams?
That's coming up in another slide.
But you're actually, okay, so, look, I covered City Hall at Fort Worth Star-Telegram. So I sat in the room when the NASCAR track was being built in Fort Worth, went to Charlotte and Atlanta when Bruton Smith was doing it. Understand how we get pimped. And let me say this, and this is no disrespect to any organization, but I need to be perfectly clear so y'all understand what is happening. National Urban League chapters, NAACP chapters, Civil Rights Organization chapters get pimped in these conversations.
Who?
But let me explain to you why they get built.
Say that shit, Roland.
They do.
I'm gonna say the same thing in a slightly different way.
Well, but I'm just.
Let me just insert this. Black America gets pimped.
No.
If those organizations are advocates on behalf of the community, then they're not the only ones getting pimped.
No, let me unpack it.
Yeah, let him make
when
his point,
I say
Kyle.
get pimped, here's what they do. They come to black organizations and they say, we want to build this stadium. We're going to promise X number of jobs. We go, yay. What we don't calculate is, are they seasonal jobs, full-time jobs, low-level jobs, customer service jobs, senior level jobs? We don't do that. We then don't do an aggressive end on the contracting. When Les Alexander pushed the stadium in Houston for the Rockets, that shit got voted down. You know why? Black folks said, we ain't getting a big enough piece. Les had to come back, renegotiate with the black community a higher percentage of contracts, and it passed the second time. But we are only looking at the contracts of the stadium. What I'm trying to do is to get us to reimagine contracts. And so what I've said to Derek, to Mark Morrell, to Sharpton, to every organization, if there is a company, a company that wants to come to a black organization and be a sponsor, that's fine. They cut $1 million check to our organizations. But we should then say, no. Who has your transportation contracts, your catering contracts, your PR contracts, your legal contracts, your bonding contracts? How much money in black-owned media? Pepsi, perfect example, has an initiative with the Urban League, 5 years, $10 million to stand up black restaurants, fully supported. They have an initiative to drive $100 million in receipts to black-owned restaurants. They can't actually account for it because you got no tracking system. One of the brothers who are on the advisory committee said that to me as well. But here's the piece. Pepsi spends $3 billion a year on marketing. If black-owned media got 5% of Pepsi's $3 billion, that'll be $150 million per year. That's $750 million over 5 years. So tell me what's bigger, 5 years, $10 million, $100 million in receipts, or $750 million? We are happy with the 5-year, $10 million and completely ignoring the $750 million. So I'm saying we have to understand the larger game. So when we start making demands, we got to say, I want to see the numbers top to bottom because they hit us with jobs. I'm going, no, we want black-owned contracts. That's why pre-COVID, there were 2.6 million black-owned businesses, 2.5 million had one employee doing an average revenue of $54,000. That's why we lost 41% during COVID. If you don't confront the money, because contracts are long-term, 3, 4, 5 years. Take a seasonal job, we stay broke.
Got it.
And literally taking scraps and doing the best we can with scraps. And I feel like for me, the problem in not asking for funds is that we have to come together. And that is really difficult for us. Because there's been a lot of things that have been placed in us, you know what I'm saying, to not let us come together. You know,
That's
I
what I
saw
was
last
saying.
year the players' contract changes. And we started seeing people getting 200, 250, 275. 200. The contracts, and I was like, if you took 5 of these young brothers and you told them, you guys could pull together, you can buy your own team. Why wasn't that why weren't agents telling them that? You know what I'm saying? If you have a $250 million contract, you're worth $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? With your credit, like literally you have 5 players worth $1 billion. Why couldn't they say, we're gonna go and buy our own team? Instead of asking for the scraps, why were they not trying to come together? And I feel like that is the hardest thing that I've seen, is getting together and saying, sorry.
You're right. And I used to feel like that until you realize that's a good old boy network. And your money don't get you in the door.
That's right. So let me ask you this.
Yep.
So the live sports, you know what I'm saying, with people in golf.
Correct.
You let the Saudis come, there's not a wider sport in America than golf.
Correct.
So that is a good old boys network.
Yes, sir.
I seen the Wilshire Country Club yesterday. It was all black. That's just one day.
That was one day.
Saudis came into the widest sport in the world, and they showed with money we can buy this sport. They bought the sport.
$728
They
million
bought
in 1 year.
They bought the sport, and I feel like literally that is, there is I think that sets the table for saying there is a precedent that it can be said if someone can come from outside and buy the widest sport in America. If we could come together, we have with you, with LeBron, I'm saying we have the infrastructure to start saying, you know what, let's, I'm saying we won't play in this league. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, that's different. Not saying we will not play in this league until we own it is different.
Yeah, but why would we not? Why is the only team in sports owned by Michael? You had to become the Michael Jordan.
Correct, like Chris Rock
I'm
said.
saying, like you had to become the Michael Jordan of sports to that's the one player who can own a team.
You know why? Because they allowed him in.
That's what I'm saying. But I feel like
They
we
was
have
comfortable
to
with
stop.
him. They got his shoes. He's the GOAT. So we'll let you in. We will accept your money.
So
Hold on. And see, in golf, these are independent.
One of the things I wanted, here's the bottom line for me, you said a lot of great stuff, is we can't expect people who don't care about our culture or respect our culture to help us enhance our culture. That's really what I mean. And to your point, the media, there's a game. And again, like I said, I'm getting my PhD. They'll say, we have money set aside for black-owned media. I don't care if you're black focused. I don't care if you have a lot of black engagement. If you're not black owned, we can't give you the money.
But that's
But
only-
how many black-owned do we really have?
Well, first of all, let me put that's only new. That's only the last 3 years we've been kicking their ass. But here's how the game works. They got the so-called black-owned media. On March 1st, I'm doing a whole 2-hour show on it, and I'm calling companies and agencies by name. So what they do is you get a contract, and they say, oh, you need to do 11 million impressions. Oh, but we can't run the ads for Roland Martin Unfiltered, which is the most watched show. You can run it only on these 2 shows, which I just started. Oh, you also can't do third-party advertising, which is programmatic, which Complex does, but you can't. So what then happens? They tell my ad folks that. I see it, I'm like, no, I ain't happy. And so I call the company, I'm like, no, I'm not happy. Now, why does the company go, oh shit, let's have a meeting? Because they're afraid I'm gonna put them on blast, because I already told the company, if I knock your market share, I don't need to boycott you. But if I knock your market share from 14 to 13%, a bunch of y'all gonna be out of jobs. So they were like, okay, we're gonna change the impressions. If you don't know the impressions game, then you run the ads, you only hit 11 million impressions, you only hit 2 million impressions, you think you're getting the 500,000, that's for the 11 million impressions, they're gonna pay on the 2 million impressions, so you're gonna pick up 50,000. So if you don't know the game coming in, that's how they get it. So all that talk about black-owned media is all a game, because they're putting up hurdles where you can never actually white media. They running shows, never meet the metrics, but they still getting the money, and they want to make good, and then they say, well, why can't you do it? So part of our deal is not knowing how the agencies work, which is why I'm not dealing with agencies. Because the agencies, I had one company that approved a $700,000 deal. They say, call the agency to get paid. The agency started asking me a question. And the second question, I said, hold on, am I getting vetted again? I called the company. They call the agency. It's like, were you aware he's doing this? They were like, yeah, we're doing business with him. So the agency game is where we frozen out of the money. But the companies get the cover by saying, oh no, we're going to spend 4% with black-owned media. I'm like, show me who you're spending it with, exactly. And then how much. And so, but we have to be willing to call some folks out. And this is why we need our civil rights and social justice organizations backing us up. Because when they know the pressure is coming, they have to release the gates. But as long as they know we will take meetings, and the only person at the meeting getting paid is them, we reward us in meetings. No, I literally told one company, I will not praise you for your press releases. I will praise you for direct deposits. And the CMO, and there's a last point, if you're dealing with media, and there's no disrespect to anybody in the DEI space. I don't take business meetings with a DEI person there. Here's why. Because the CMO controls the budget. They keep that. I had a meeting, they brought the DEI person and the head of the foundation. I said, we ain't having no grand conversation. When y'all meeting with Disney, you don't bring your foundation person. We have to know the game and hit them back. They go, well, dang, we got a smart Negro here. He know the game. That's how we keep getting played.
So, there's always a conversation about we got to hit the supply side and we have to hit the demand side. I think our challenges in media are very, very similar. As Roland said earlier, we have to teach our people, our viewers, our consumers, how to discern what really is healthy for them to ingest from the media for a variety of reasons. Our behavior, our perceptions of ourselves, but in terms of supporting black business, we have to teach people to understand that there's certain things that they can do with their dollar or with their time and their eyeballs that will help support black media.
So, but that we needed 10 Tyler Perrys. Right. We needed Tyler Perry to have that lane, and that spoke to my mom and we needed someone else to have this, we needed someone else to have that. Right. So that we didn't look up and say like this Tyler Perry is blackness. Tyler Perry is not blackness. He's a version of who we are, and he speaks as an artist, he speaks to a certain group, and I feel like when it starts to become that one person is supposed to speak to all of us, that's not what white America does. They have so many different versions.
By show of hands, how many people